The Forgotten Mermaid. All lost hearts may be redeemed. By Gregga J. Johnn. 10. "Land ho!" called young Dan from his favourite post in the crow's nest. His brothers, Davies and Derek, craned their necks and shielded their eyes through the early sunrise to try and see more of the island pointed out by the boy. Bailey scurried to the door of the captain's cabin to alert him of the news. "It would seem the wind has brought us in view of an island, sir," Bailey called through the locked door. There was that odd tapping sound, and mumbled voices coming through the closed wood again. What on earth was the captain hiding in there? The woman strained to hear and almost lost her balance when the door flew open and Captain Bryce came surging out, suddenly stopping short, intimately close to the woman's body. There was the familiar awkward pause that seemed to stop time whenever they found themselves so together. Bryce asked quietly, "Are there any unique aspects to this island?" "What?" was all Bailey could think as she breathed in deeply the scent of his cologne. "Does the island have any specific markings that might give us a clue as to the nature of the place?" Bryce still didn't move. He seemed to enjoy watching the paralysed flushing of colour he brought to the woman's face. Bailey just mumbled, "Not that I saw. I didn't even see. I just came straight down here to tell you when I heard Dan call out." The captain stared at her in mild amusement and whispered, "Your loyalty to me is endearing." He paused only long enough to shift his focus over her head to look at anything other than her face. "How fares your husband this morning?" Bailey backed up in the narrow hallway and moved to exit onto the deck. "He is always much energised while sitting by the mast, sir." And she walked out to meet her man and kiss his cheek in affectionate greeting. Captain Bryce watched from inside the hallway, still hidden by the shadows of the interior, and chuckled. Well, he would be energised by sitting right there now, wouldn't he? Then the captain joined Derek by the wheel and gave instructions for a careful survey of the outer surf as they sailed around the circumference of the island. The Violet Lady of the island swam out to meet this new ship. She was about to investigate the rudder, as in her usual destructive habit, but something about the underside of this vessel caught her attention first. It wasn't anything she saw either. From the outside this hull looked like any other, but she felt it, and she shuddered. She slowed her approach with great respect. Keeping up with the speed of the pursuit as it cut through the waves, she carefully passed her hand along the wood toward the centre bulk. This ship had a secondary rudder right in the middle. She presumed it to be directly under the mast. It was a small upside-down V that gripped the underwaters and steadied her speed. Yet the sirens sensed more. There was an energy about the mast's extended rudder, and as she raised her hand to touch the soft insulation about the join in the hull, she pulled from it a translucent blue aura that connected to her hands and caressed her fingers like a long-lost pet might lap at his master's hands. She smiled and kissed the blueness, drawing the energy form into her mouth, as one might suck a noodle from the Asian delicacies of the East. Swimming back up to the surface, she carefully peered through the waves for clearer understanding of who was on board. There was a child in the crow's nest, pretending to be busy, and an old crone munching on an apple, looking dubiously at the island. A rough deckhand stood at the prow, sounding off the depths to his obviously sibling that steered the wheel, and a couple stood together, a woman supporting her man as they fixed their focus upon the turbulent surf. None of these were whom she was looking for. They bore not the aura about them of the energised. Then he came into view. The captain moved to the starboard side of his vessel with telescope in hand, scoping out the natural formations of the land. The siren watched him, knowing that in a few turns of the wave he would make out her stone coal bowl. But he paused and dropped his eye view, as if sensing something unknown. She read his aura, and the adrenal glands of her body triggered. The captain slowly turned and walked to the port side, his back to the island, as he searched the tossing waves beneath him. She couldn't move in time. He saw her. Their eyes connected in a vague remembrance as her hair floated like loose seaweed about her luminous face. His eyes called to her, and the energy of his soul reached out to connect with hers, but she dove into the darker depths and hid from him. Dan shouted and pointed to a bonfire on the beach. Bryce stirred in his dreaming soul and quieted his hopes. Taking a closer look at the bonfire through his telescope, Captain Deleuze watched with distraction as 3 men tossed wood upon the fire and danced about the sands in delirium, trying to get their attention.